Are pawn shops better than thrift stores? Recently, I feel like, and not even recently, in the last few years, I feel like I have had way more luck, better deals, finding more variety of games in pawn shops than like thrift stores or charity shops as they're known. I feel like Goodwills and like St. Vincent de Paul's, I feel like they've been almost completely dried up. I'd be lucky to find anything outside of a sports title. Not even that, even a sports title. So, I think that these pickups I'm about to show you, which I did get from pawn shops, and I think I got them for fair deals. If not, I got a good deal. They're willing to bundle, they're willing to work with you, and they always have new stuff coming in. I think it's even better than like trying to shop at GameStop sometimes, although you can find some pretty cool deals with the new retro stuff. But let me show you what I got. Very first on my list, and this one I was really excited to get, is Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. They had this marked at $35, and I legitimately just bought this a few weeks ago, like probably less than a month ago. I also got Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. If you know anything about me, I think Ubisoft can suck an egg, and I don't want to give them my money, so I think inadvertently by buying it from a pawn shop, I'm not giving them my money because it was a game I wanted to try out, and I feel like for 20 bucks, that really wasn't a bad deal. But I ended up getting both these for 55, and funny enough, when I was in the parking lot, I had one of the screws, the little pieces to like take this apart and make sure that the board was real. I don't know what made me suspicious that day or why I felt like I needed to check, but it is in fact real. Next up, I went to one of my favorite pawn shops, the one that I've been going to since I was like a little kid. These people have been seeing me go here since like 5th grade. But I was able to bundle 4 games together. I believe I only paid 50 bucks, but Onimusha 3, didn't even know there was a third one. And again, I love samurais. I'm waiting to get through a couple of things, and then I plan on playing through the series, hopefully. Apparently the first game is only like 6 hours long, so it's not that much of an investment, but Onimusha on the PS2, and I'm wondering why the 3 games didn't get a remake or a remaster or anything like that, because I feel like that would be a fun trilogy to try to either rebuild or kind of revisit. But I've never played them, so I don't know if they're that fun. They only had $5 on this guy. It was Half-Life 2, Episode 2, Team Fortress 2, and Portal, all in one disc. I've seen these around. They're usually more than I want to pay for, but I thought $5 was a killer deal, so I ended up snagging it and putting it in the bundle, and I think I ended up getting it almost for like free, because the very first one, I think, they had 22, this was 5. The next one for NES is Super Off-Road. I have a very nostalgic sweet spot for games like this. It reminds me of the arcade cabs and like the Izzies and stuff like that, and I just really love the animations, the cars, the racing. It's just kind of one of my nostalgic like comfort food games where I never play it seriously. I just play it for a little bit, it makes me feel happy, and then I move on. And then the very last one is Final Fantasy, the 20-year edition on the PSP, which I am currently playing. I am trying to dive into the Final Fantasy series for real, because the only one I've ever played through is Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, so getting Final Fantasy in a little bit more modern, I don't know if it was like a remaster, I think would be a better like terminology for that. I'm enjoying it so far. The grinding is a little excessive, but thanks to my Pokemon days, it's not so bad. And I think the story is really cool. I'm actually really envious of people who got Final Fantasy on the NES back when it first came out, because that must have blown your minds with the story that was developed, with the map that you got. Just, it seems like such a elevation of some of the RPGs you were getting at the time, or the JRPGs, and so I am envious of the people who got to experience that. And when you're a kid, with the amount of encounters that you have and the amount of backtracking that you have to do in the game, which feels a little bit like padding, but again, it's a Nintendo Entertainment System game, so you wanted to make sure people got, you know, the most bang for the buck, because parents didn't want to spend all of that money just for their kid to beat it in a few hours. So I understand why it's there, but it's a fun game. I haven't gotten my first crystal yet, but I'm about 4 hours in. I'm trying my best not to use walkthroughs, so I'm backtracking a lot, and I feel like I'm kind of at a high level right now for where I'm at, but I'm having a lot of fun. Next up, and I was excited, I went and visited in Tillamook. I went to the only retro game store within like probably 40 miles. And the guy who was working behind the counter was such a character. He was so loud and animated, and like I was interested in possibly buying like Batman for the NES, and he's like, oh my gosh, that's my last one, and then he's calling other stores, but he wasn't doing it in like a oh my god, you're buying my stuff negative way. It was just kind of just very animated. It was really hard to explain, but I found 2 titles to pick up there. The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings Enhanced Edition. I think I had The Witcher 2 in my Steam library. I don't really like buying stuff for Steam, but it looks like they revisited some things that might make this a little bit more playable, because the last time I looked at possibly playing the first 2 Witchers, I didn't really like how it looked and how it controlled. Now, I have heard that the controls are still clunky, but they do revisit some things in the game that I think makes it a little bit easier to play. And this Witcher is more like a bite-sized one, because from what I gathered, it's about a 13-hour game, whereas like Witcher 3, you can put like 200 hours into that game, which I don't dislike, but sometimes you just want something a little bit shorter. And then the next one, I almost missed this. It was hidden on the wall behind another game, and I have been wanting to buy this one for a while, and I don't think I've ever seen it in the wild. 3D Dot Game Heroes. Now, this game I thought was going to have a little bit better reviews, but it seems like some people consider it to be a little bit mediocre, and that was just based off of like the very little research that I did. But apparently this is similar, kind of like a original Zelda-esque type game, and it's something I wanted to add to my collection for a very long time, but the prices just weren't right. They sold this one to me for $50, which at the time I thought was a steal, because the last time I saw the prices on this, I swear it was like somewhere around $90. But apparently it's gone down. Like a lot of games, you should check back on some Xbox 360 games that you're interested in, because I almost guarantee they have dropped since the hype of the marketplace closing. And then I think, I'm trying to remember, this one was like $15. It was something cheaper, but I was really excited because, again, I'm trying for the killer, not filler. I want to make sure that my collection is growing from this point forward with games that I actually want to play. Very last on my list, and I literally bought this like an hour ago. I saw it in a pawn shop, and I was like, you know, I don't want to spend that kind of money. Thought about it, and I was like, you know, their price really isn't that bad. So I went back and I got Pokemon Black 2 for $120. And I know that's a lot for a Game Boy DS cartridge. It is real from what I can tell. I've got 24 hours to take it back, so I'm going to do a little bit more research. But apparently the guy that works there does a lot of that investigating before they put it out on the floor or purchase it. I'm still going to do my own research, but from what I've observed so far, it is real. But I finally got Pokemon Black 2, and this is one of those few Pokemon games that completely missed me. I don't know anything about the story. I don't know if it's like a direct sequel to Black and White. I know nothing about it, so I'm going to be going into this fresh-eyed. I know nothing, and that's really cool. So I guess don't spoil it in the comments, not that any of my audience plays Pokemon, but I'm really excited to finally add this to the collection, as it is a game I've been wanting to try for years. I just totally missed out on it. So let me know, have you guys been going to pawn shops? Have you been getting any good deals? Are you still going to thrift stores? Are you still finding deals? I haven't. Most of my pickups have been from pawn shops and developing relationships with them and showing up on a semi-regular basis, making my presence known, spending a little bit of money. A lot of the times they'll be able to bundle a little bit with you. Some places there's not a lot of wiggle room, but they've been pricing stuff pretty fairly recently, and I'm honestly a little bit surprised. But thank you guys so much for joining me with this kind of topic, mostly pickup video. But let me know in the comments down below what you think of all of this. Maybe let me know some of the pickups that you got recently. And don't forget, a pixelated world awaits.
Samanthaazira, queen of the game zone. Her realm, her throne, every console known. Pixelated princess, conquering unknown. In this digital age, her talents are shown. From Minecraft games to Halo skies, watch her conquer, no surprise. Game with grand dynamic rise, skill unlocked, no disguise. Guys, joystick Jedi with moves unreal.